So they will say, yes, there was a prophet or a messenger or a warner, but we didn't believe in them. We denied them. We rejected them. And we said, God doesn't reveal anything. God doesn't send any prophets and messengers. God doesn't send any scripture or any guidance. God doesn't send anything. You are in plain error. A lot of people say that. And they will then say, if only we had been listening or reasoning, we would not be among the companions of the blaze.
Yeah, so
if we listened and we heard the prophets and the messengers, or we were reasoning, using our intellect, we would not have ended in this place. This is the role of the intellect God had given us to use. If you use your intellect, you would not worship a tripod. You would not worship a tree. You would not worship a tree or a half elephant and a half man. You would not. Using the intellect properly and in sound way, you would not worship anything of the creation. The only thing that your intellect will tell you that is worthy of worship is nothing except the creator of this universe, this cosmos. If you use this intellect and no prophet and messenger came and you said, there is a God, I submit and surrender, you already have believed in him, and this is your judgment. He's not going to put you in hellfire, because you have arrived to the right conclusion that there is a creator who is one and only and absolute.
So are you saying, so can I just see that quick?
Yeah.
So where it says about, I don't know where it says it, but about a disbeliever.
Yeah, so in Islam, a disbeliever is a kafir. You've probably heard this word, oh, you're a kafir, you're a kafir. A kafir linguistically means someone who covers, a farmer is called a kafir. Why? Because they cover the soil with the earth. Knowing the soil is there, knowing the earth is covering. So there's a knowledge involved in this action. A kafir in Islam, in its technical meaning, someone who knows the truth and then rejects it. So the question that we were discussing, if someone doesn't know the truth, you cannot technically say this person is a kafir.
How can you know the truth for sure? Because what you just said, I feel like is a conflicting interest, because you said God will send a prophet
and a messenger.
A messenger or a prophet to teach you how to live your life.
Yeah.
But you also have your own intellect. You said that your intellect is influenced by God, and your intellect will influence like your beliefs. So
excuse me, are you? She's focusing, so just.
I can talk to you. She's got a mind of her own.
I thought she was listening, but up to you. It's up to you.
Anyway,
The reason I say that, there are some people here in the park, just to introduce you the park dynamics. I come here to tell about Islam and present Islam to people and reason with people about Islam. The lady here, can I finish? Can I finish? You see, she's not even allowing me to speak.
She's got a mind of it. You interrupt into my
I know, but I'm just explaining to the lady who will choose who she wants to speak to. You choose who you want to speak to. No one's gonna speak to her. But what I'm saying simply, she's a Christian missionary, like we are Islamic. You can call it Muslims who've come here to share the message of Islam. She's here to share.
Can I just
making it about
my friend Owen, just one second. Excuse me. Do you see the problem?
Carry on the conversation.
She just asked me a question
No.
quickly, and I just wanted to ask.
Go and ask and then go. Thank you.
No, I'm gonna be here.
Oh, she's going to be here. So that's why I'm saying.
carry on the.
No. That's what I'm saying. So it is not proper that while you were listening,
it's great.
she is trying to interrupt this discussion and talk about Christianity. By all means, go ahead, right? But we'll talk about another time. I'm just showing you how, come on, have your own discussion. Yeah? Go ahead.
Let's just carry on the conversation.
Yeah.
No need for
So Owen.
So
what I'm saying is.
Can I just finish, because I was making a point?
Oh, go ahead.
So, I feel like what you're saying.
No, up to you. Carry on, please.
I feel like what you were saying, there's conflicting interest.
Which one?
Because you said we're talking about God will send a messenger, or
Prophet messenger, and using the intellect as well.
And then you also said that our intellect can be influenced by God. And
No. I said we have to use the intellect. Yeah. The Quran reprimands us for not using the intellect. The Quran says there are people who worship the idols. And those people say, we've seen our forefathers worshipping the idols. And the Quran says, what if your forefathers were wrong? Are you not going to use your sense? They could be wrong too. You can't just simply say, I was born in a family of people who worship a monkey and I'm keeping worshiping a monkey. What happened to your intellect? So God constantly wants us to use the faculty of intellect to revive us in the right thinking. But intellect has its limitation.
You say that the intellect tells us one thing and it's the same for everyone.
No, but intellect, a sound intellect would not contradict God's revelation. Like the example we said about God being all knowledgeable.
How do you define a sound intellect?
Yeah, so the sound intellect, to give you an example of a sound intellect, God is all knowledgeable for all the time. Then he comes down and he's ignorant. The sound intellect will tell you all knowledgeable means all time, all knowledgeable, not 5 minutes ignorant. But if someone says, I'm using the mind, just because the book says so, I'm going to accept it. It's God became ignorant for 33 years or whatever. That's not the use of a sound intellect. Because you are now leaving the use of the intellect, suppressing it, and then subscribing to what a particular book may say. Because you're giving priority to this book and saying, no, this takes priority. Even though your mind does understand that there's a contradiction. Yeah? So sound intellect would not contradict God's true revelation. This is one of the principles that you should go by. Because otherwise, you can believe in anything. Like I half elephant, half monkey God and say, yeah.
Okay, so my intellect. So my intellect is, my understanding of what my intellect is just like my logic and you know what
the faculty of your reasoning.
Yeah. So I'm not a practicing. I don't practice any religion. I'm not a practicing Muslim or anything like that. So does that mean I'm not? I don't know. It doesn't really.
Well, no. What it means is
my intellect tells me that not everything, to not believe everything in these religions. So
your intellect
that make me a disbeliever?
No.
Does that mean I should
if you use your intellect as you are using, you would know all of these religious ideas and ideologies cannot be all truth.
Yeah.
So I've already used the intellect. So that means which one is the truth you need to decipher and filter out. You can use your intellect to filter out, and this was the process that we were showing earlier on in terms of which makes sense or not. Okay, your intellect will then direct you in saying, this doesn't make sense. God is all knowledgeable, not all knowledgeable. God is like a pervert watching naked women having a bath and so on. So there is this intellect role that you can clearly use, and then say, okay, look, let me now look at this book. Book is something that God supposedly had sent and revealed through the prophets and messengers to guide us to. How does this book tell me about himself and about everything else, right? Does it tell me that I'm created, I'm already doomed? He's created me and I'm already doomed. I'm already guilty. Imagine, you open a bank account and then the next moment they tell you, okay, you're in debt, my friend, £1 million. Just feed the debt into your account. You'd say, how is that? That is unjust. I've just opened a bank account. It should be blank. Yeah, empty. And then I can put my money in, take my money out. But if you're already guilty, like many religions, I don't want to have to name them anyway. There are many religions who say you are already guilty of a crime that you did not commit. You weren't even there. Someone ate the apple, the fruits.
Do you have an example?
No, we're talking about Adam and Eve, the first parents.
Go on.
They were there in a garden, and they, because of their lapse and weakness, being also deceived in addition by Satan, they fall short of the requirements, and they disobeyed an action of God, a command of God. They ate of this tree, and now a religious tradition, a big religious tradition says, you are all guilty, every one of you. You are going to be punished to death unless someone else, like me, God, die for you. Now I see that, look, this is problematic to the very core, one after the other. Firstly, how can I be guilty of a crime that I didn't commit? I wasn't there. I did not have any involvement. You see, an action has to be done by a willing agent who is also capable. Can you make me guilty for not saving someone being run over by a bus? The only way I can save is having wings and flying over there. How can I be held accountable and guilty and punishable by death because I could not save someone in Brighton. I cannot simply go and fly because I don't have wings or transport myself. So not only that I have to have the will, but I have the capacity and the ability. Eating of the apple, I wasn't there. I didn't intend it to happen. I didn't eat it myself. So how can I be guilty of that crime which I didn't commit? That is unjust. It's injustice to the very core. Second point, the only way then I can be saved for a crime that I did not commit, do you know how? It's by the God who created me. He commits suicide. He says, I'm going to kill myself to save you. Even more unjust. God creates you in your weakness where you commit actions which is not up to the standard. And then God saves you by killing himself, punishing himself. Does it make sense to you? That's why I'm saying religious traditions must be used and looked at properly and then say, look, what is the concept of God? What is the concept of sin and salvation? What is the concept of heaven and hell? Is there justice there, or is it just like everyone goes to heaven? I'm not talking about your belief, or am I talking about your belief? I'm just talking about a religious tradition. Everyone goes to heaven, or everyone goes to hell.
So, you know, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course you can.
So, you just said that it's unfair, right, for someone else, other people to go to hell because of other people, right? Is that what you, as I understand it, you just said it's unfair?
I said you should not be punished for someone else's crime.
Right, okay. So is it fair? So according to Islamic tradition, in Sahih Muslim, Christians are going to be put in hell for the sake of Muslims. And,
you misunderstood. You know, you can open up references like you always do. You misinterpret.
I've got it. It says Christians are going to be sent to hell on behalf of Muslims. It's there. The reference. Okay, I'll read it out.
Let's read and have a look.
Is that said in...
But even that, if you look at it, how can the Christians go to hell? Because of what?
To save
someone else.
Save them.
Repeat what you just said before you... No, repeat what you just said first.
Of the Muslims,
yeah,
they will go, the Christians shall go to hell, you said.
Allah is going to put Christians in hell for the sake of Muslims.
What do you mean sake of? Explain.
Instead of Muslims.
No. Explain what do you mean instead of.
Are you saying instead of like Muslims that have committed crimes?
You know what, let me read it so that I'm not misquoting it.
So you've read it, but you don't remember. No problem.
No, I remember it. I'm saying that.
Please. The text will be clear, right? So I want you to show me a text which has Arabic as well, so I can read the Arabic. Because very often we see here in the park, people have a translation which is also... No, translation doesn't do justice.
It's not translated.
No. Translation doesn't do justice to the topic because this is the baggage that we build in what it says. That's why I had to refer to the footnotes when I was chapter 112. This seeking eternal refuge means what? He's perfect, absolute, independent, because that's what the word means in Arabic language. They can't put all there, that's why they put it in the footnote, this is what it means. So even if you had something like this in a hadith, you know, we will check the Arabic and then we can explain it to you what the hadith really means.
You know, it's funny, I watched this all on YouTube and I'm here now. Like, I'm the one like in between everything.
Yeah. So while you're finding it, it is not fair to punish someone for someone else's crime. It will be unjust. God says he is not unjust in any way to his worshippers. He doesn't. Because otherwise you will say, look, how can I be punished for someone else's crime? So when we're talking about filtering the religion, look at the concept of God. So when you look at the Quran and it makes sense to you, and the Quran provides you additional evidence for itself, then you can be sure and you can have that conviction. Remember, we're talking about how can I be sure? How can I be sure with certainty that this is it? Because I can't just say otherwise. You're absolutely right. If you're not sure, then you cannot say you're wrong, you're this, you're bad. You can't say that. You can only say, once you're absolutely sure that in my understanding of things, I think this is true, and based on that, this is not true and this is not correct, this is wrong.